Hey guys, it's Dustin Storm with Storm Stanley, and I just wanted to take you through this back to the 80s Downstream Casino Resort commercial and really give you just a high level overview of some of the stuff that went into it from my perspective, and then let Matthew Stanley and Shane Ross do segments where they really go in depth about the individual roles that they had and really some of the Easter eggs and complexities that there are in what they did through this spot too. So I've just got the finished spot pulled up here, and I just wanted to kind of go frame by frame and give you an insight into how we did this, um, and then let them talk a little bit more about the specifics that they did. So this opening shot here, let's go ahead and kick it off. Crazy, crazy, crazy way to start off this commercial, and I think we really wanted to right off the bat kind of um, throw down the gauntlet and let everybody know that this was going to be something special and something different. We kind of took this iconic angle to get the downstream, the hotel tower in the background there, and wanted to get the curved portion of this road to really show the DeLorean, which is an actual screen used DeLorean from the Back to the Future movies, which we were really fortunate to have on set there. And a huge shout out to Barry Lindiff, really for the vision behind this. When he came to us, he really had this entire vision laid out and just needed someone who could make it possible. So we really latched onto it, and I think we're able to bring his vision to life. So the storyline for everything you see here, the majority of this he already had laid out, even storyboarded out. So it made it really easy for us to just be able to approach this from an angle of how do we make this happen? How do we pull it off? So let's see if I can jump back a little bit here. As we have it enter, everything that we did with that we knew we were going to do some Cinema 4D animation on, we would shoot as a dead zone. So we'd shoot a blank slate without the action in it, just as a static shot. And then we would shoot the actual action in it too. So that way, when we did the animation to lay things over it, we'd have a clean slate to lay the animation on top of. So this is all Shane Ross handiwork here, where he's got the bolts coming off of the DeLorean and then the flame trails behind it here. And it's just absolute craziness. Let me play that scene again. So visually ridiculous, right? My role in this really, as kind of directing and filming, I was there filming this night, which we had almost the whole team there for, and we had to do late at night, and we don't have the ability to really obstruct any of the traffic that normally flows through downstream. So we had to do all of this and really just deal with traffic that was flowing through, with people that were walking through. So it certainly makes it take a little bit longer, but we pulled it off nicely. So the thing you may not notice here is all of the crazy layers of sound effects that are going on underneath that, and we'll let Matthew dig into that. He's a sound effect whisperer, so there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of little touches with sound effects in there that he really did a great job with. So I was on filming, I was on coloring and rough cutting, and then I handed that 1.0 rough cut off to Shane for graphics, and Shane did graphics, and then handed off to Matthew Stanley for the sound effects. So let's move on to the next scene here. So the car actually wasn't moving when we shot this. We had the car just sitting there static, and we were shooting this scene with a Ronin MX, which is a handheld gimbal. And I was in front of the car, just kind of gliding along, and had Christian, who works at Downstream and who was our actor for Marty McFly, had him act like he was driving, so we could really give this feel that we're in front of the car and he is flying down the road heading to Downstream. You got the iconic flux capacitor in the background there as well, which is just a super, super cool shot. And this was not part of the original storyboard. It's just one of the many extra shots that we grabbed just in case we needed something extra. So this one just managed to fit in there really well, especially when we had to compress the storyline. But we wanted to make it clear that this was our Marty, that he was in the DeLorean that he was driving to Downstream, and really set him up before we head into this next clip, which is that. Really wanted to get the newspaper from the movie and add the animation to it, much like they have in the movie, and it's almost a little Harry Potterish, where we've got the video clip of MJ Deja Vu, who's the Michael Jackson impersonator here. We've got the almanac that really talks about the back to the 80s thing and the win $20,017 at Downstream, really trying to tie all of that together and drop a little hint here before we get into the more traditional promotion part of that commercial. So this again was shot while the car was not moving, but we added or tried to keep a little bit of motion to it to make it feel like, you know, it was shot in the car while the car was flying down the road. And all of this post 3D graphics were done by Shane Ross and added after the fact here. So let me back that up and show you those three together real quick. So we've got a little tilt up there. Okay. Back up just a hair. This license plate is not real. And you can, I mean, if you're really looking for it, you can tell. This was another shot that we got while the car was just sitting in the parking lot, and did a push with that Ronin on it, and managed to use it to help tie that storyline together a little bit better about the car pulling up and then Marty coming inside here. But the texture mapping that is done on this was a Shane Ross thing too. So really, I mean, even without all the graphics, it would look like a really good spot, but all of the 3D graphics that are added on top of this take it to a whole nother level. And the sound effects that are on that, it really helps support it. Without the sound effects, I don't think it would be nearly as stellar as it is. So the normal filming and cinematic coloring and stuff that we do all the time, it's this 3D graphics that really takes it to the next level. And then this shot.
Go back to the 80s.
Okay. This shot we did probably at least 15 times. And what's really tough about this is you see the DeLorean here in the background. This shot actually starts with Christian, aka Marty, getting out of the DeLorean and then walking all the way into the casino. I was shooting with the Ronin and had to walk backwards, so I was backpedaling that entire route. And then we had Shane with audio there, and Matthew was actually guiding me backwards so that I didn't run into anything. And at one point, just had to actually hold my hips to make sure that I didn't run into anything, because the first few times that we did this, I ran into everything that there was, and it was a total disaster. So we eventually just had to make it as uncomfortable as possible to make sure that we pulled the shot off. And what we ended up doing, I think, worked really, really well, but we had to do this several times because we would run into something, or we'd get all the way in and everything would be perfect, and then we'd make that turn to this portion where they start walking in.
Go back to the 80s this New Year's Eve at Downstream Casino Resort.
And of course, this lens blur is added after the fact to really help the graphics pop out. But there would be people walking through the shot, and it would just look awkward. So we would have to just back up and start all over again. Like 1,000 things had to go right in this shot for us to get what we wanted. So we shot this so many times. And there are actually a lot of photos that Jesse Whitehead took while we were out there shooting. And there are a ton on this scene because we did it so many times. I mean, as crazy as the rest of the scenes are in this, as far as filming goes, this was by far the hardest scene to pull off.
Go back to the 80s this New Year's Eve at Downstream Casino Resort and win a share of over $75,000 in cash and Q-Play. See the closest thing to the king of pop? It's a party, Marty.
Okay, so backing up in there, these graphics aren't are way, way, way crazy, but I love them. I think we really pulled off um, the 80s vibe with all of these lights that come into the shot as Marty walks in. Those are all added in post.
Go back to the 80s this New Year's Eve.
You see like the laser lights here in the background. Those are all added in post as well. The little electricity effect that goes around each of these graphics, I think is a really, really nice touch. And as those come into the shot, that electricity kind of cycles through each one of them. And the film strip, which was actually something that was added in the very, very, very end. It was one of the last things that we did, and it was an idea that Barry had to throw into here. And I think it really helped highlight the MJ Deja Vu, really the standard promotion part of this spot, which is this chunk of the commercial graphically you would not be that surprised at seeing in a normal month for a casino promotion. So we've still got to talk about the promotions. We still got to pull it off. We just wanted to wrap it in a container that is much more, has much more wow factor.
Pop, it's a party, Marty!
Okay, this is entering into another area of craziness here. We've got Christian leaving the casino after he's won, so he's got all of the money that he just won. As he throws the hoverboard down, it actually hovers. And for this scene, we actually had a flat hoverboard that Barry had mocked up with the artwork on it, and had Christian just throw it down. So while we were filming, this actually just falls to the ground and just lands flat. And then Shane in post actually adds the hover effect on here. So that scene works really, really well. After this, we actually have Christian skateboarding out to the DeLorean, which is sitting here, and had him ride a real skateboard to do this. And then in post took out the wheels afterward to get that hoverboard effect. So here's what that looks like all together.
King of Pop, it's a party, Marty! Come on, Marty! Doc, I won!
And again, you get the sound effect in there too. And by the way, the voiceover guy here is a guy who does Emmett Brown impersonations, and we thought did a really good job for this. And the Doc I won that you hear in the next scene is actually Christian, pulling off a really good Marty McFly voice too. So check out the hoverboard again in this scene and listen to the sound effects.
Come on, Marty!
Crazy, crazy cool. And here's where it gets just absolutely bonkers. And one of the things I talked about in this spot before is that the thing I love about this so much is that there's this constant element of surprise. When we start off the spot, you're like, ooh, this is going to be different. That's a crazy effect. And then you see the flux capacitor, and then you see the Michael Jackson newspaper with the video in it, and everything just gets cooler and cooler and cooler. And then we're in the casino for that pretty standard promotional part, even though it is a cool version of it. And then you think, okay, surely the craziness is done. And then we throw the hoverboard in, and the hoverboard's like, wow, well, that's cool. And you think, well, surely it's done here, but it's not. This is kind of the grand finale of craziness of effects that we throw into it. And how we did this is that we actually had the DeLorean sitting here. We actually had Christian get into it, and then the DeLorean drives off. This is another thing that we shot with the action and then just a blank slate without it, and we did a composite of that as well. And there are actually several different layers going on here because we'll have the Cinema 4D, the 3D animation version of the DeLorean that actually takes off and flies past the casino tower, or past the hotel tower. So that is, we obviously had to knock out the background here and give ourselves another tower layer here so that the 3D animation can go behind it, and then we have it come back out. But then we actually added fireworks for the New Year's Eve celebration here too. So when we added fireworks, the lighting of those fireworks has to affect different things. It subtly affects the side of the building here, and it actually affects the DeLorean as it's back in this area too. So let's watch the whole scene, and then I'll back up and show you some of those little tiny Easter egg pieces. Okay. Right? Just completely wicked. So the DeLorean door comes down. That's actually the door that's coming down is the is from the actual DeLorean that was there, but the DeLorean that you see, the rest of the DeLorean that you see, is all post. It's a 3D animation of it. So the fireworks start going off here, and these fireworks are actually from some filming that we did at a Joplin Blasters game previously. So that's real footage of fireworks, but it's not from Downstream. It's something that we composited into here, and just a real subtle effect as those fireworks go off here. The animation on the actual takeoff of the DeLorean here is just crazy. I mean, having the wheels actually turn down with the burst of flames and smoke from the wheels, and then trying to get that burst that comes out. Yeah, the burst that comes out of the propulsion system in the back as it takes off, and the sound effects on top of that are just absolutely awesome. So it flies back behind the casino, and then as it comes out, you see there's a big red burst with the fireworks. So like here, you can actually see the red tint on the DeLorean, because we knew if we're taking it back there, if we're going to make it look as real as possible, the lighting has to change as these different things interact with it. So we had the firework lighting actually interact with that DeLorean as well. And then as it comes toward the camera here, it starts to do its transition into a different time. So it's got those lightning effects that happen to it, and then of course it takes the white out to transition us into the next spot. So I'll roll through that whole thing again. And again, we couldn't stop anything that was going on here. So yeah, there's people walking through that are actually going to the casino that night. I mean, there's real stuff happening all around us that we can't do anything about as far as stopping it. So we just had to work with what was already happening at the casino to pull this off. The sound effects here are all crazy.
Great Scott, that's a lot of winnings.
Yeah, so there you go. The very end of that spot was something that we added at the very, very end as well, with the lightning that transitions us out, so it actually closes the commercial. And this is the 60-second version. We had to compress it to a 30-second version for broadcast television as well, which cuts a lot of the story out. So we're really happy that the 60 is out there on digital and that people are actually seeing it, because there's so much more storyline and so many more cool elements there. But let me play it for you one more time, and then we'll hear from Shane Ross and Matthew Stanley.
Go back to the 80s this New Year's Eve at Downstream Casino Resort and win a share of over $75,000 in cash and Q-Play. See the closest thing to the king of pop? It's a party, Marty. Come on, Marty.
Doc, I won!
Great Scott, that's a lot of winnings.